You're ready to give sobriety a try, and people tell you that you have to go to AA. But you heard some crazy stories about AA, about surrendering to a higher power, that you can't drink anymore, you have to do all of these steps. You might have also heard that there is an alternative called Smart Recovery, but you might not know much about it. Well, I've done both, and today I'm going to share with you why I think Smart Recovery was the best option for me. When I stopped drinking for the last time, it was because my life had become so chaotic and unmanageable. I could see the writing on the wall and how things were not going to end well. And I adopted this attitude of doing whatever it took to get better. So I attended AA meetings at multiple locations. I started Smart Recovery meetings, and I signed up for an IOP program, which stands for an intensive outpatient program. So I did everything under the sun that I thought could help me to stop drinking. The first thing I noticed about AA is that the meetings were very structured and they felt a little bit impersonal. Now, a lot of people would approach me after the meeting and come and talk to me and try to get to know me. But to be honest with you, it felt a little bit overwhelming and, dare I say, a little bit cultish, because they were all using this sort of special language. And a few people asked me if I wanted them to become my sponsor. So it felt a little bit overwhelming and I wasn't really ready for that. So for most of the meetings, I would tend to sit in the back and try to keep a low profile. I really appreciated the life stories that people shared at AA, and this sense of community and belonging that a lot of people seem to really enjoy. I was also impressed by the fact that a lot of people said that they had been sober for 10, 13, 15 years and still kept coming back to these meetings. It made me wonder why they keep coming back if they were not drinking anymore. The environment seemed very respectful for the most part, but a little bit cold and impersonal, and different groups attract different type of people. So there are men's groups, there are women groups, there are groups for like men that are older, there are younger men groups. So there's different kinds of groups. And if you want to go to an AA meeting, you're prone to find a meeting that will be in your demographic and age category. AA meetings are everywhere throughout the United States. So you ever feel like you need to go to a meeting, you're prone to find one. With the advent of the internet, now you can also access these meetings online. So that's actually a great thing if you feel like you need this type of support. But the biggest problem for me was getting past this idea of surrendering your will to a higher power. Now, AA says that a higher power doesn't necessarily mean God in the Judeo-Christian tradition. However, AA was founded with Christian values in the Christian tradition. And a lot of the rituals and sayings are very religious in essence. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I have nothing against religion. However, I've met a lot of people who, even if they are religious, they don't like this religiosity to be thrust in front of them as a requirement and as part of recovery. A lot of us, independent of our religious beliefs, live more secular lives. And I've always did not like the idea of having to surrender to some higher power outside of me in order to put my life back together. But I do understand why this can be very, very useful for a lot of people. So I don't want to take away from the fact that when you have struggled for years and years and you have not been able to stop drinking, might work. And as a matter of fact, this works for a lot of people, but this doesn't work for everybody. And this does not work for me. Smart Recovery was started in the 90s as a means to try to provide another path, another way to recovery. Smart Recovery is based on cognitive behavioral therapy principles and its predecessor, rational emotive behavioral therapy, which focuses in the connection between your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors as a chain that you can disrupt. And it works like this. One day you wake up and you have a flat tire. Now you feel very upset. Perhaps you feel worried because you're going to be late for work. And if you're late for work, your boss is going to be very angry at you. And you know what they say about angry bosses? He might fire you. And if your boss fires you, this is going to be terrible, because how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to take care of things? And the consequences might be catastrophic. At least that's how my brain works. But if we dissect these chains of event, it just started with a flat tire, and it ended up me feeling very anxious and scared by the prospect of being fired and not being able to pay my bills. And this upset might make me want to drink. So the idea here is to challenge the thoughts that make us feel upset, make us feel anxious or angry. Because the truth of the matter is that we make things worse than they usually are. That's just how our human nature works. That's how our brain evolved over millions of years, trying to protect us from danger. So now we see danger everywhere. Smart Recovery believes in empowerment. It believes that you have the power to decide what your next move is going to be. You have the power to decide how to live your day. And it provides you with tools to manage those cravings, to manage those urges to drink. In its 4-point program handbook, there is a series of exercises and tools that can help you to go through problem solving and help you to diffuse some of these strong emotional upsets that are happening in your mind. Practical solutions to day-to-day problems. It provides you with tools to build and maintain motivation, tools to manage cravings and urges, tools to help you connect the dots and learn to manage your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors, and also to learn how to live a balanced life by identifying the things that are missing in your life and reconnecting you with your values and your goals. To me, all of this was a lot more useful than surrendering to a higher power. And to be honest with you, I still had to do a lot of the things that the 12 steps require for recovery. Things like doing an inventory of my actions and the things that I was doing that affected my life in a negative way. Trying to make amends and reconnect with the people that had been affected by my behavior when I was drinking. And to figure out what type of things I was doing that were not working for me and that were counterproductive to my life. But I didn't have to surrender to a higher power or pray to God to remove these defects from me. And while I understand why some people might choose to call themselves alcoholics in order to admit to themselves that they have a problem, this is not an approach that I favor, because the complexity of humans, what we are, is so vast that putting labels onto what we are, it's really not very useful. You're a human being that's capable of change. And as a human being, you are not supposed to do things perfectly. And the process of change requires you to stumble. It's like learning how to ride a bike. You cannot learn without stumbling and falling a few times. That is the nature of learning. People who don't stumble don't learn. That's why relapsing on alcohol is not shameful, because you're trying. I met a guy who had a jar full of white chips. And for those who don't know, a white chip is the chip that you get for being 1 day sober. And you get one, every time you start. But I don't think that's how recovery works. Recovery is not a linear process. It's a zigzag. Sometimes you're moving sideways. Sometimes you're stuck. But as long as you're committed to the process of change, you will change. It provides the tools for individuals to take at their own pace and to learn and to go through this change process the best way they can. And Smart Recovery works whether you are religious or not. Smart Recovery doesn't take a position one way or another. Smart Recovery doesn't have a sponsorship system, but it encourages the members to crosstalk. As a matter of fact, this is a very important part of the program, which is when people are learning from each other's experiences and are able to ask questions and provide their own experiences and build upon what they already know. It's like having a group mastermind that provides you with tools and expertise to keep growing and keep learning. My goal is not to put down AA because I know this system has worked for a lot of people and it's helping a lot of people. It's just not for everyone. And if you're looking for evidence-based tools and techniques, and if you're looking for a program that believes that you can make good choices, that doesn't regard relapse and lapses as failures, but as learning opportunities, then you might consider checking out Smart Recovery Meeting. What about you? What's your experience? Have you tried Smart Recovery Meetings? Have you tried AA? Give me your opinion. Try to keep it respectful, because even though I strongly feel that Smart Recovery was a better option for me, I know that a lot of people feel very strongly about AA as well. So tell me what your experience was. What have you liked about AA? What haven't you liked? What did you like about Smart Recovery? What do you think Smart Recovery could do better? Now, I have packed everything I've learned in my 5 years of sobriety into what I call the Sober Now framework. Everything from emotional management, how to deal with strong urges and cravings at different social occasions, how to acquire the right mindset that will allow you to stay stopped for good, and the changes in your day-to-day routine that will promote your sobriety and help you to find that alignment with your values and your goals. If this is something that interests you, click on the link below and set up a time to talk with me and figure out if working together would make sense for you. This is Alex Rivera, the Sober Dad. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.